what an exciting group to be part of. I'm feeling very out of my depth here, but I'll just tell you what we've done in Cate Township. So Cate Township is the easternmost part of the very bottom of Georgian Bay, so small 10,000 people or so. This is one of our parks nearby where I live, but it's certainly on that southern shore. And we started with hearing about Phragmites and seeing this crop growing up along many of our shorelines. And we did apply for a land stewardship and habitat restoration grant. It was half funded, so we had to convince council that they needed to put in half if we were able to be successful. We were able to count volunteer hours against some of our portion from the township side, and we ended up being successful. So then we had supportive letters from Georgian Bay Forever and from our local environmental Severn Sound Environmental Association as well. So we were successful that spring. But in leading up to this, we certainly attended some of the programs that were offered around Phragmites and how to work with them, and certainly one of them was provided by Georgian Bay Forever. When we became successful, then we really contacted David and Heather and said, help, because we're going to need training and we need more information on how to go forward, and we needed volunteers. So this was the fall of that year, a large stand, and David and Heather said, well, maybe if you can cut off some of those plumes before they go to seed, that would be helpful. So quite scary the way you can see the very narrow opening to our waterway on this particular beach. Our application, successful application, was to work on 6 different parks, six different public parks along our shoreline. So this was the opening of Mackenzie Beach. Really the amount of water exchange along that beach was greatly reduced. The water entry, this was very mushy on the base, really not attractive, and we were quite mournful of losing our park altogether. So there's David showing us all the various tools and how to keep safe with the little inflatable life buoy there. And we were so appreciative. I think we had maybe 13 volunteers show up that day to learn how to distinguish and how to cut and how to attack. This is that electric saw that you spoke of. So our staff also had to learn how to use it. And we hired 2 students that summer to help. And I think the ad probably went, come, work along the shores of Georgian Bay in the nice heat, very nice, until they realized they were going to be wearing rubber to their shoulders and in and out pulling this very smelly frag out of the water. It was not fun, but they hung in. So again, you can see how dense these stands are. In fact, when we got into the middle of this particular stand, we kind of disappeared, and that could be scary. Some of our volunteers, you see, I think that's Heather on the right up there as well. But these have become ambassadors and have been working with other areas as well. Yes, more volunteers, more cutting, more dragging. And certainly smiling, but you should see their faces now as they see the results. So this was 2 years ago. Again, working, those are the 2 students, enthusiastic looking, aren't they? They worked very hard throughout the summer. And we worked all day, and they worked into the next day. So again, this is David in the bowels of that Phragmites stand. And towards the end of the day, you could see significant water now available from that to this in one season. This is another beach that tackled, and on the lower edge there you see at the end of, I think that took 3 days to tackle that, but only the dogs could kind of get into the water with this. it eliminated the shoreline for the wonderful beach that it was, and now it's looking like this. So these are the 6 park areas. We actually, I think, were able to do 10 that summer because of the volunteers and because of the work. A couple we couldn't quite get to, just because they were difficult to access, and we actually organized for a barge to come in and help us, and then the winds came up and we couldn't use the barge that year. Really, this technique really only works with water access areas. We needed to address how we were going to do the frag pickup, and really wanted to advocate for the government to determine that Phragmites was a noxious weed, because that would then make it everybody's business to get rid of it. Council again the next year agreed to allot another $10,000 for the cut, and the residents started to gather and learn how to do their own, although it was difficult work without guidance. And certainly the higher water levels in Georgian Bay have helped significantly. So this is one of our great volunteers who organized her neighbors, and then they went to other neighborhoods as well. So this year, just last week, Council again agreed to continue the program for the 3rd year and to maintain $10,000 in the budget. They awarded $10,000 to Georgian Bay, so I'm guessing this was last year, to assist residents to work on their own properties, and those students were certainly needed. A lot of the residents that are cottage owners, and it's hard work working all day, so they did need some help and some guidance not to be picking certain things. And we were also supported by Seven Sound as they hired an invasive species expert who would come along and help individual property owners decide what it was they were working with and whether and how it should be cut. So these are some of Heather's slides, because these are some of the work that she and the students did over this past summer to get rid of frag in the various bays and private property owners. And this is not a great picture, because you can see that there's a lot of dead trees there, but this is where that wall of Phragmites was 2 years ago. And where you see the green, those are reeds. There is no Phragmites to be seen here now. So year 3, we're tentative, but we seem to have gotten rid of it. And this is after a bad storm, but you know that this water is very approachable. The mush from the bottom has gotten firmed up, and so we're seeing a lot more people enjoying this beach and getting into the water. So that's a better view of it. Tried to kind of stick them together, but you can see this is Magnus Beach. Over on the left is Phragmites. That belongs to one of the property owners there, and he kind of likes it because it gives him privacy. We still have work to do, right? One of the pieces that is a very big concern is, what do property owners do with the frag that they cut if you don't have a trailer, if you don't have a truck to haul it to the local? So one of our councillors that is on county council put forward that we needed August a pickup time for that Phragmites, and in order to alert our homeowners that they can do that, there will be a great piece of education that will go out to all of our property owners, particularly along the waters, when to cut, how to cut, so that education piece is critical. And so we're very excited. And this year, as I say, just last week, we again have now incorporated $10,000 a year from our council into a budget line against Phragmites for our own properties, and we supported the continuation of Severn Sound, the Environmental Association, with their invasive species, and they recommended that $10,000 go to Georgian Bay Forever in an ongoing budget line. So pretty exciting for all of us to have that happen, because it means it doesn't matter so much who's actually governing. If it's in a budget line, it has a much better chance of being sustainable and the work continuing. We have so much work to do still. So thank you. My goodness, thank you very much.